All right, it is time to get after it. It is Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. We've been off for a few weeks, but we are back with getting. Oh, I'm so excited tonight. We have got a Commodore legend from the late 70s, early 80s coming out of Memphis. We've got Wamon Buggs with us tonight. Mr. Buggs, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you making some time tonight.
No problem, man. No problem. No problem at all.
If you guys knew anything about Memphis high school football in the mid to late 70s or followed Vanderbilt shortly after that, you knew who this man was because he was on the radar screen. He could not hide from sports fans. He was too good an athlete in multiple sports. But Wayman, I want to talk about life in Memphis in the mid to late 70s, the athleticism, the sheer volume of such talent that you grew up with and competed against. That had to have made you a better athlete at the same time. Were there a lot of well-known athletes locally coming up with you?
Oh, man, we had, All-American basketball players. I could name Michael Wilson from Manassas. He ended up going to Marquette. I played three sports very competitively from Hamilton High School. Just at my high school alone, we had two first-round draft choices: Keith Simpson, defensive back, Seattle Seahawks; Eric Harris, defensive back, both played cornerback for the University of Memphis. And I'll tell you guys a little story behind Memphis State and how I almost didn't leave, and it probably shocked some of you guys. You may know Bernard, but you know, Coach Pankos came from there. And of course, he came to Vanderbilt, and Hubbard Alexander was a key reason. Dennis Harrison, David Culley were the guys that came and got me. Otherwise, I may have been in an orange uniform, almost in a blue and gray uniform in Memphis, but I ended up, Coach Alexander closed the show on me, and that's how I ended up coming to Vanderbilt.
Well, we were so very thankful that you didn't go east or stay home.
Yes.
You found us in Nashville. But we got some Commodores. We got Mad Dog. We got Jeff Madden in the house, and we've got Daryl Griffin that both say to tell you hello.
Tell him I say hello. Little brother Daryl and big brother, little brother Jeff Mad Dog Madden. Hello, guys.
And guys, we've got Wamon Buggs, and if look, you can talk all you want about Jerry Rice, because I know you guys are about the same age coming up. My money's on Wamon Buggs to get that ball every time. Every time.
Hey man, Jerry Rice is probably one of the best in the business, man. I appreciate that, but I held my own, Bernard. I mean, I came to Vanderbilt with high aspirations. Of course, the losing was very, very new to me. I hadn't lost that many games with my junior high career combined. You talk about the talent. I mean, when I got there, I was ready to perform, and I had to realize early you have to wait your turn. You know, you got a great player like Preston Brown. We only had one football. You got all the talent: Alamar Matthews and Norman Jordan, Keith Edwards, Phil Roach. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And I just really, as I think about it, I was talking to Preston last week, and I was saying, man, you know, we're different guys. I mean, we're roommates during that time on the road, but we still talk about the past, and we both said, man, how did we accomplish what we did? You know, on a losing team, with all the talent we had around us. And, you know, he and I were the first two African-Americans to make first team All-SEC on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm like, man, it just amazes me. So we talk about those things, but if I had to do it over again, man, I played golf today. I'm hurting, man. I don't know if I could play a football game now. I play 18 holes today, man, and I'm feeling it. But I made the right choice, Bernard, coming to Vanderbilt. If I had gone to Tennessee, who knows what could have happened. You know, they had some great players. Big John, TSU head coach, legendary head coach, John Merritt recruited me also. And same thing there. I wouldn't have started off playing. And Vanderbilt was my best choice overall academically. And of course, we played in the best conference in the country.
We certainly did. I don't want to forget that another one of our greats, Derek Payne, also came out of Hamilton High School after you and at Vanderbilt, and DP was recently on the show and is such an advocate for Vanderbilt. But oh my gosh, Wamon, you got all kind of Commodores in the house for you tonight. We're showing serious love for number 8. We got Dwayne Jones, we got Jim Arnold, we got John Denardi, we got David Kropp, we've got, let's see, some others have already rolled through. I can't get to them so quickly, but of course, guys, we've got Wamon Buggs out of Hamilton High School, Memphis. Wamon, I want to talk about the decision making. You've mentioned all these other regional schools that certainly wanted you to come to their campus. What kind of influence? You mentioned Dennis Harrison. You mentioned some others who were already on campus. Did the Taylor Stokes, the Ed Parrish, the fact that there has been, I'm not going to say a pipeline, but there had been a consistent recruitment of African-American athletes to the Vanderbilt campus in the 10 years before you decided to come to campus. Did that influence you at all, or was that even part of your thought process? Did it matter at that point?
No, honestly, I just met Taylor. He's a deacon, associate pastor at the church I attend. Mm-hmm. I didn't know them then. You know, I met Ed briefly. He had already started, you know, his career with, I can't think of the company that's in Arkansas, who he retired from. So I didn't really know those guys. Dennis was on his way out. He was graduating. But Vandy was smart. They used him as a recruiting tactic on me. And my mom cooked some dinner, and they came down and hung out. And that was the closing deal for me. But I didn't get the opportunity to know that history was missing. I didn't know who Taylor Stokes was. I didn't know some of the other. I did get to meet, what's the defensive back that went? Doug Nettles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as far as that, Bernard, you look at that time frame, it wasn't that many African Americans, and number-wise, that I, you know, could just identify with the exception of, you know, meeting Dennis, and my big brother James Thrillkill was the one that kind of took me under his wings, and it was a little shell shock the first year. So he kind of, you know, calmed me down, because I was ready to go somewhere else, man. I'm like, man, I can't handle. I came in, I told Coach Pankos, man, you could have let me stay in Memphis. If I'm gonna come up here and sit on the bench and watch, let me play defense. I hit Herschel Walker. I'm not afraid to hit Herschel Walker, but I just had to calm myself down and understand why I was there to get my degree first. And kind of, you know, just made me look at the big picture and say, hey, man, just, you know, get yourself prepared. When your number is called, be ready. And that's what I did, and it worked out for me.
Well, you know, Wamon, you mentioned Herschel, and we're going to get to him in a minute, because you were later on some postseason teams with him from an all-star standpoint. But, you know, the SEC was changing finally. And I don't mean to delve into too much about race and demographics and things, but Vanderbilt historically had not had a lot of African-American players, but the ones that they did had stood out. They ended up in the NFL. They ended up on Sundays, playing on Sundays, and they were not. Yes. They were not the average Joes who just fell out of a roster. And you mentioned the Thrill just a second ago. He's been on the show, and what a lovely man. And he has contributed his art for decades, not just to the Vanderbilt community, but really worldwide. And yes, he talks about some of those stories and about how things were changing. But here's my question for you, Wamon. When you're on a team, they want to see your teammates. They want to see what you can do athletically. And I don't think, you know, I wasn't there, obviously, but just knowing of you and knowing about you back in the day, it probably didn't take too long for your teammates to see what type of an athlete that you were. And so my question to you is, at what point, maybe from a maturity standpoint, your freshman year, or sometime during that August, September, October, you're getting used to college ball, when did it then, I guess, when did your role that you eventually got into, when did you accept that? Was it that conversations with Coach Pancoast, or did you have conversations with teammates, or was it just kind of an evolving thing?
It was conversations with teammates. Bernard, as I said, Thrill was. I saw a lot of things that I thought were not fair. Here's a 6'5" phenom from East High School in Nashville, and my freshman year, we look at the depth chart, and they've got me behind him on the roster. I'm like, man, what's going on here? Preston Brown's on the same side with me. Charles Edwards is on the same side with me. And I look on the other side, and we've got Roger Alsop and Funk, we call him Hook. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here? And we were playing Kentucky, getting beat pretty bad down there in Lexington, and I was a freshman, and I just told Coach Becko, look, man, Scotty Madison was a quarterback. I'm like, look, I want to play. And he's like, well, if I was thinking about it, I could have just sat my butt down and I would have been on the bowl team with Jeff Madden because I could have been redshirted. But I wanted to eagerly play because I just didn't want to sit and watch us get beat the way we did, but it was my teammates communicating, remembering why I was there to get a degree. Football was second. And, I'm not going to lie and tell you that my aspiration was not to play on Sunday. That was the reason why I chose to play in the SEC, to let my talent take its course. So I just took it on the field and took it out on people in practice. And, some of the catches that I see with the one hand that you got the pro players now doing, I was doing that at Vandy because I was that angry because, I didn't get the chance to play as a freshman. And I wanted to let Coach Pankos know, man, you brought me up here for a reason. And I want to, hold up my end of the bargain. And but I had to, like I said, I eventually matured, took care of my studies, and it just waited my turn. Preston was before me, and that's how we did it. We talked when we were roommates about things, so that's how we did it.
Well, Wayman, you must have had some pretty good mentors, some older brothers, if you will, on the team, guys you listened to, because back in the day, it wasn't as easy to transfer schools like they do now, but it would have been very easy for you to just walk off and go home and like you said, play at Memphis State or maybe even go to play at Tennessee. Was it that influence from some of these older players? Is that what really kept you there and kept you getting better?
Yes, the friendships that were formed, not only the males, we had great females athletes that were there, the Kathy Benders, all the Dr. Kim Smiley, all those people we still, talk and communicate today. It was like a family. And I knew the rule wasn't going to be in my favor at that time. If you transferred to another school, you had to wait 2 years before you, especially in the SEC.
Yeah.
So that was a no-brainer. I remember Marcus Williams, we came in together. He left and went to Clemson for a day. And I was going to try to go. I said, I'm going to go with you, Marcus. Well, Clemson didn't know me or didn't recruit me. I'm like, nah, I can't go do that. I'm not going back home. I know I'm not going to Knoxville. So I said, you know what? Hey, you made the choice. Make the best of it. You're going to get a great education. And that was the end of that conversation with me. I was going to, stick it out, win, lose, or draw. And that's what I did.
Well, thankfully you did, because your final 2 seasons, you were nationally ranked, SEC, tops in the SEC and catches, and really made a name for yourself, not just regionally or in the conference, but nationally. You put yourself on the map. What was it about the last 2 seasons, Wayman, that really kind of turned the corner for you and really got you to national prominence and having such great seasons?
Bernard, to be honest with you, Mike Jones, wide receiver for Tennessee State University, we were very close. And I had to do something to take my game to another level. So when I had an opportunity, I was over at Tennessee State, and that's when I learned how to run cuts, learn how to release off the line. And that was what I did to make sure I got my game to where it needed to be. So when I came to the SEC on Saturdays, it was, I had fun. So, but that was what I was doing. Coach had known I was over there doing that, but they wouldn't let me get into any hitting or anything. But 707, I was over there working on my craft and not just working out at Vanderbilt. That was a secret to me being able to be ready on Saturdays.
Wayman, we got Alex Scarborough is in the house with us. Hey, Alex. And Mad Dog says it was Watson Brown's offense that really kind of helped to propel you. Watson was your offensive coordinator. He was my head coach later in the decade.
Right.
But talk a little bit about Watson Brown's philosophy and being in the huddle of a Watson Brown team.
Well, I appreciate Mad Dog saying that, but somebody had to catch those balls. And the offense was, intermediate offense, run and shoot. We loved it. It was once you got the plays down, they were very easy to run. Now I love to go over the top. I never did get a chance to get too many deep balls. That was a short, quick passing game. I only called a deep pass. It wasn't from Whit Taylor. It was from Kirk Page against Georgia on an ABC nationally televised game. So thank you, Mad Dog. But no, I like to go deep, baby. And that passing game was very short, intermediate. And we didn't have enough footballs throwing to his favorite son, Norman Jordan, and Keith Edwards and Alamar Matthews. That ball had to be shared. So I was thankful to catch as many passes that I did with the talent that we had around us.
Gosh, those names, just some serious talent right there. Wayman, what was most fun for you about the game of football playing in college?
The fact that, we did something that no one expected. I had to learn to take the losses and continue to get better. It wasn't easy on Sundays when we came over to, do our little strides and here we go another week. But I prided on myself of making sure I did my job, and I had the great coaching of David Culley. He kept me poised. There were times I would get angry and he would calm me down and focus on what I'm supposed to be doing. So being out there on Saturdays and being able to accomplish what I did, I took pride in every week to make sure that whoever was guarding me was going to have a long afternoon.
Well, they certainly did, but I want to kind of pivot for a minute away from the field and away from football, and I want to talk about academics. I want to talk about the social scene, but academics first. Coming out of Hamilton, and really for most of us, transitioning from the high school academics to Vanderbilt academics takes a little bit of time to get used to the rigors of having a schedule and staying on your schedule with your rest and all of that. How was it for you from an academic standpoint?
It was very challenging, Bernard. I mean, I actually was told by my counselors at my high school at Hamilton and Memphis, I mean, you need to go to UT. And I said, well, why? He said, man, it's going to be hard. And I took that as a challenge and an insult. And I'm like, wow, they didn't mean any harm. But I'm like, y'all don't really know Wamon Buggs. Now, I was an average student in high school. I mean, we had a very competitive, great academic school, great athletics, beautiful girls. I mean, we had everything at Hamilton High School. And when I got to Vandy, it was a little shell shock. Sometimes I was the only African-American in some classes, but I had to do what I had to do. I made the adjustment, and I didn't feel that I was, out of place there. I mean, hey, I'm Wamon Buggs. That's just how I carried myself and my little cockiness, I guess. And I made myself get out in 4 years. I stayed, I think I went home one summer. I was there every summer working on academics. If I didn't do well in the class, if I had to take it over, I did what I had to do. And luckily for me, I got a sociology degree, which I've used working for 2 different judges in the court system. And of course, George Peabody College, when we merged, I have a degree from both. And I've been a teacher, and I'm currently a teacher as I speak. So my degrees are actually being used throughout my life. They have been used throughout my life.
You're one of the small percentage, not just athletes, but I think students overall. I have a history degree. I don't teach history. I
Right,
just
right.
love the subject. I went to law school, but it's refreshing, I guess is what I'm trying to
Yes.
say, Wayman, that you actually use your degree. We got OJ Fleming in the house, and we've got Dr. Roosevelt Noble, who says confident, not cocky, is how you describe Wamon Buggs. And I want to talk about that, Wayman. As athletes, we all have to have some level of confidence on the field, off the field, because if not, if you're timid, you're going to get hurt. You're going to lose. You're not going to win. You're not going to be able to play if you don't have some level of confidence. And knowing you for just a small amount of time, I know that confidence is still with you. I can hear it in your voice and in your conversation with me. At what point, and here's my question, I'm sorry for being so long-winded, at some point during your Vanderbilt years, you put together the academic and the athletic and the social and any other parts of your life to where there's confidence on all fronts. You would be the rare person to come in and be confident your whole time there about everything that you do. But do you remember having a pivotal time in your years at Vanderbilt where it seemed to you that just everything came together? From an academics, from athletics, from social, from whatever else is going on in your world? Did any pivotal moment that you reflect back on from that time period?
Well, I had an uncle, my mother's baby brother, before I came to Nashville, made me cut we had the afros flowing back in the day, and he made me cut my hair up. I'm like, man, what are you doing, man? You hurt me on my ladies, man. They like this hair. And I had to cut my hair off. He said, hey, man, you're going to a different, I'm not asking you to change who you are, whose you are, but you got to go up here and play the game. So, Bernard, I came ready to, I was not coming back home without my degree. Let me put it like that. So I knew that coming in. Thankful for Fisk University to, at that time, Tennessee State University. I dated a Tiger Bill at that time, Cheryl Purnell, very pretty. She's another Flojo. And we were both from Memphis. She was an All-American athlete out of Southside High School. So we challenged each other to make sure that we did what we needed to do as athletes to make sure we represented our universities and our hometowns the best we could. So my wife is trying to call me. She's going to kill me. Hold on, you still there, Bernard?
So
that was my motivation to make sure on the academic side, if I needed to get her, we would study together, do things together, make sure we were on top of our games. And of course, Ed Temple was a very, very strict coach on her. And he knew of me. He was later my fraternity brother, but he didn't want anybody coming around his athletes. But things like that helped me get through. If I needed to get on that campus and go to their libraries, opposed to Vandy's library, I would, use those scenarios to make sure we didn't have the African-American scenery that they had at Fisk or TSU. So I had to do that to make sure I stayed grounded in my belief system and so forth. And then when you get on Vandy's campus, you gotta be in class and take notes, and taking those tests where you had to, sign the blue book and you couldn't look left or right. I mean, hey, you just had to, do what you had to do. But I think the athletic discipline also helped me understand, hey, this is what you got to do. This is what you're here for. Football can come and go. Your degree, and here I am, Bernard, 20 years in as an educator, speaks for itself. So,
well, what I'm hearing, Wayman, is that maturity caught up pretty quickly, because if you recognized those things that you needed to do, and I heard you say play the game.
Yes.
Which and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're describing you needed to do what you needed to do to get things accomplished for your goals.
Well, I didn't go to a private school, Bernard. I was not exposed to some things. You got to remember, I was a little city kid from Memphis, and I never forget. I don't know if you guys remember Robert Fraley, the agent that died in the plane crash with Rex Dockery. He was my actual agent.
Oh, wow.
At the time, and I was having dinner with Greg Norman, And what's the other golfer that died? Payne Stewart.
Yeah.
Right before I went to training camp, and he was living in Orlando, Florida. And to show you what I'm talking about, Bernard, as far as, I tell my students today, you always put yourself in a position to learn. I said, guys, I'm 63 years old and I'm still learning. Well, we were having dinner, and, I'm from Memphis, and, I'm used to the traditional salt and pepper shakers. I've never been to a fancy restaurant where you have the salt and pepper shaker that you rotate. And I was sitting there shaking, and his wife kind of looked at me, and I know the shark and and the other golfer were kind of chuckling a little bit, and they said, "Man, this brother, he don't know, he hadn't been out." That was a defining moment. Things like that, even in my Vanderbilt days, I learned things that I wasn't exposed to, and it's just the way it is, And when I got there were things I wasn't accustomed to. I had to make the adjustment. So I had to play the game. That's what I mean. You got to play the game, and I didn't know. I never made that mistake again, and I actually used that as a teaching lesson with my students. I said, "Hey, I'm not perfect. I did this." They said, "What? You did that?" I said, "Yeah, I was embarrassed, man." I said, "But I had to chuck it off and get ready for training camp. I had to go on to camp after that. But I knew the next time I went to a fancy restaurant, I knew what to do with that salt and pepper shake." So his wife had to kind of show me how to do that.
It's interesting how in social settings, the things that we learn, just because we come from different cultures or different time periods.
That was my major. It was fun, man. I enjoyed the professors I had. We had this professor from Germany that was at Vanderbilt back in the day, and I had some very interesting classes. So like I said, Bernard, I used those things in the courtroom. I'm like, wow, I'm just glad thankful that I was able to use my degrees, and I'm still, maybe 4 or 5 more years, I'm ready to put it up and do something else in the community. But I made the right choice in coming to Vanderbilt. As I run across guys I played against, Anthony Hancock, and we're part of the NFL Players Association. So I get to see a lot of the guys I played against when we have our leadership meeting. So I don't feel embarrassed. I don't feel slighted, because I know what I did on the field. And Anthony Hancock has made that acknowledgement as well. He's a first-round draft choice. That's the only thing I wish I had the opportunity to do. That's a whole nother story about that. But my performance was good enough to have had me there. It didn't happen. You just have to move on and make the best of what you have.
Guys, I've got number 8, Wamon Buggs, out of Hamilton High School in Memphis, with us tonight. He's just spitting it. He's telling us some of his stories, some of his experiences. Dr. Noble says, don't forget the Afro House. Tell us about the Afro House.
Tell Dr. Noble, thanks. I mentioned Tennessee State and Fisk University, but those campuses came to us, and we had some of the best, sweatiest, hot sauna parties that you could ever imagine. And that's all we had as an African-American student, to go and release ourselves from the pressure and you lose a tough game or win a big game, and we would go and let our hair down and have a good time, good, clean fun. Thank you, Dr. Noble, for that memory. It was very, very special. And now you look at the place and it's like, wow, it's not an Afro House now. It's called the Bishop Johnson Cultural Center, which is, you have to bring things up to date. And but back in the day, that was where we actually had some of the best parties, just good, clean fun. And we'll never forget that place. Never.
Well, Wayman, I was going to ask you, I assumed that you spent a considerable amount of time at TSU and Fisk socializing, but did student athletes, whether they were just regular students who you guys knew or athletes at those schools, did they come over, as you said, to the Afro houses? Did they also party on campus? Was that the place for the African-American athletes to congregate?
Yes, they did. I mean, we had guys from when Louisville had those great basketball teams, they would come. We had athletes coming from campuses out of state. Yes, like I said, Mike Jones and I were great friends. He wasn't a partier because he was so serious about He slept with his football every day. That's why he was in the NFL for 6-7 years.
Yeah.
But as far as coming to my room, talking, if we had an away game and he needed to get away, he would come and hang out in my room and just, relax. Now, I didn't go over there to do anything, to stay in anybody's room. But as far as us interacting, yes, Fisk University, and if you know the history among those universities, they've always collaborated academically. Some students took classes there. So it was a great fit, but that was our way of making sure that we got to entertain with our culture, our students, African Americans, and they did come and hang out with us.
Oh, we got Joe Peebles in the house. Hey, Joe P. Good to see you, bud. Wamon, what about the interaction? And I'm always curious about this, regardless of the race of the athlete. My experience and many others on the Vanderbilt campus, athletes are just seen differently by the regular student body and by the administration or the faculty compared, and this is not a blanket statement, I realize that, compared to state school athletes. You're not, I don't know what your experience was. I'm not, personally, I'm not a big guy, so I kind of blended in a little bit. But the big guys on campus, the players who were starters and more well-known, were treated a little bit differently, and not necessarily in the good light sometimes. What was your experience about how you were treated by students, regular students or faculty or administration on campus?
Oh, Bernard, that's a great question. We demanded respect on that campus, man. Mark Metlock is my white brother from another mother. Ken Hammond came in with me. I would die for those guys, and they know that. If we had an issue on campus where a non-athlete, and it happened, I mean, we got in a little trouble. Some guy hung a noose out of a dorm room, and I think it was Tower 1, and didn't realize that the guys could count what floor he was on. So you got Eugene Shaw back in the day. I don't know if Jeff Madden was there or not. Jimmy Brunner, Pat Sandin, Greg Simmons. And these are white players, but we're very close to this day, and we treat each other like brothers. We have that much respect. So we didn't. I didn't go up there with them, but that guy. Luckily, he didn't get thrown out of the window, and I think we got called in. Coach Mack had to call. I think the chancellor had to end up calling the team meeting or something to that effect. So when things like that came about, our team came together, black, white, indifferent, whatever. And to this day, Mark Matlock, we talk, and he's just like a brother to me. We don't get into it. Doesn't matter what color of our skin. That's what that Vanderbilt family brought to our families. And Mark can talk to my wife like anybody else now. So it was we were very close, and we're still close. We may not see each other as much. I'm moving into the room. My wife just came in the house. I know she's been trying to call me, but it was that's what it's all about, Bernard. The camaraderie. We stay together. If Mark Medlock needs something, if Pat Saint needs something, Greg Simmons, Ken Hammond, they know they can take the shirt off my back. That's just how we roll.
That right there, Wamon, I think is the beauty of team sports.
Yes.
You guys have not been teammates on the field for Vanderbilt over 40 years. But like it was yesterday, like you said, you could call any of those guys, they do anything for you, and you do anything for them. And that's what I love, just love about team sports and what it does for friendships, for relationships. Now, not every teammate is going to be your best buddy. Not every teammate is going to break bread with you. In fact, you may have some who you just don't care for. But that's life. That's any family has disagreements. But if you picked up the phone today and called Greg Simmons or Ken Hammond and just mentioned this story that you just mentioned about the noose, tell me they wouldn't immediately respond with their memories about what happened that time?
Oh man, Ken Hammond will be ready to hurt somebody, man. I'm telling you, Bernard, when we played, man, I'm gonna tell you, Rob Monaco, Eugene Shaw, I wouldn't I don't think I'd want to mess with any of them guys, man. We had some great athletes, dual athletes, but man, they could fight, they were smart, they could drink. They knew how to party. No, I wouldn't. It was a unique group. Now, again, some of them didn't stay because of whatever reason. Like I say, it was survival of the fittest. You know, all of us thought about. You know, it was tough, man, losing and practicing hard and get out there on Saturdays and you know the game done turn in your favor, and we turn around and we're working hard again for the same old. But at the end of the day, 40 years later, like you said, Ken Hammond, I'll never go visit him in Valley Head. I said, no, you won't catch this brother in Valley Head, but I love you. I'll meet you in Chattanooga or somewhere, but I'm not going to Valley Head. He knows that. He said, oh, brother, I get you. You can come over there and hang out with my family. I said, no, that's okay, brother. You can come to Memphis to eat some barbecue with me, but I'd never come to Valley Head. That's our joke, though. But that's just how we roll, man. I didn't name everybody, but haven't seen Phil Roach. I know you know about the Covenant shooting. He was my predecessor on the other side when we were playing and when we were in the Bill Ovey. That was a pillow fight group. I used to beat Phil with the pillow. So if I saw Phil today, I would grab a pillow and he'll know exactly what that meant. But he was luckily not injured in the Covenant shooting here. But we were very close. I haven't seen him, but that respect. Him coming from Moa High School, and you know he thought he was going to come in and be the man. I said, man, we got a good combination, man. We ought to have a movie, Buggs and Roach. I said, but you do your part. I'm gonna get mine, and I'm gonna have some for you too. But we just he was competitive. I mean, just you don't get it wrong. Now Phil wanted to come in and be the best he can be, and I wanted to be the best that I could be. And all we were trying to do is get some wins for Vandy, and it worked out that he had a good career. I was lucky to have a good career. Played around some great talent. Gito Winter, y'all probably don't remember that receiver. I could go. I'm probably missing somebody else. They caught a lot of balls with us, but Norman, Keith Edwards. I'm trying to think. Van, of course, out of the backfield as a running back at that time. Alamar Matthews. I mean, it was hard for people to stop us on Saturdays, and that was fun. They couldn't stop us.
No, those were certainly those early 80s, 80, 81, 82 time period was certainly some exciting times on the offense for Vanderbilt. Wamon, as an athlete, we learn, and you've mentioned many already, we learn life lessons. We don't always get what we want, so it makes us work harder. We've all heard the term iron sharpens iron, you and Phil and all those guys competing, but there's only one ball to spread around.
Right.
You finish a decorated Vanderbilt career that puts you on the all-SEC team with the likes of Herschel Walker. And I know you had aspirations for Sundays. Kind of take us to that time period at the end of your Vanderbilt career and before the Green Bay Packers enter the picture. Share with us a little bit of that time period as you prepared for your next part of your career, next part of your journey.
Oh boy, that's a book I need to write. I'm just going to put it out there. Some of my teammates may know what transpired, and this is some of the things that that I will never forget in my heart. As I could have left Vandy, but I stayed there to make my commitment. And what I end up, when you talk about some of the things that were kind of negative, I never forget my senior year. I'm not going to name any names. I was called in for all the seniors had their exit interviews. And again, Bernard, I told you, I could be a hot rod. I'm from Memphis. You know how people got this stigma about folks from Memphis. Well, I probably fit some of that stuff, but you know, I was going to give you everything on the field, not be afraid. I wasn't worried about who was on the other side. I'm going to hit them in the mouth one way or the other. And got the exit interview, and I was told, well, hey, why don't we help get you a job? And you like to dress, and you're great. You know, you're very articulate. this is what I was told during the exit interview. And I'm like, oh, because I was thinking about possibly coming back for a 5th year because I had the eligibility. And I'm like, no, it's time for me to get the H out of here. Mm-hmm. And I never forget Mike Quick. Y'all remember Mike Quick of the Philadelphia Eagles? We both were projected to be 3rd-round draft choices. Mm-hmm. And I never forget, I was in Hollywood, Howard Slusher. I probably remember one of the top agents, had all the top NFL players. I could name all the San Diego Chargers, the tight end, the quarterback, just a host of players that he had. He was representing me. He was on the phone with my uncle, say, hey, Wayne was projected to be a 3rd-round pick. And Bernard, all I can say is I felt like a person on crack in my room. We had those phones over our heads and our beds. Mm-hmm. And I've never laid in a bed for 2 days waiting for somebody to call my name. Mm-hmm. And I went from 3rd-round draft choice to a free agent. Mm-hmm. And Buford Ray, who was a Vandy alumnus, was a scout for the Packers. And that's how I ended up signing with the Packers. Kansas City wanted me to play defensive back. Eric Harris from my high school, remember 1st-round draft choice. He went and like, well, you played this in high school. I'm like, nah. Dallas Cowboys called Gil Brandt. Hey, Wayman, you can come and play with us. You know, we guarantee you to do this. I'm like, man, I'm not taking the risk of playing defensive back. Canada called. I'm like, man, what am I going to do? So I ended up signing a free agent with Green Bay, made the team. Of course, John Jefferson, James Lofton, Bart Starr was the head coach. So I really got to see the politics of the college experience, and I got to see the politics of the NFL experience, because when I got to Green Bay, made the roster, and we were playing the Rams. Green Bay always played the Rams in Milwaukee County Stadium, first game of the season. And that's when Bart Starr touched me on the shoulder and said, hey, Wayman, you're on the inactive list. I knew then what was going on, because I was a free agent. I didn't have any guarantee of anything. All my clothes were moved to Green Bay, had an apartment, and then that ended up going back the other way. And then, of course, George Allen called. And that was pretty much my career. I hurt my knee. So I saw it at Vandy. Again, I'm not going to call any names. And I found out later that some bad information had been given to some scouts on my name. And I went from a 3rd-round projection to 0, because you had Jim Arnold, myself, Ken Hammond, both, you know, of course, Jim had a very decorated career. Ken got drafted by the Cowboys 6th round. Wamon Buggs goes nowhere. And the last person to ever, and y'all probably don't remember this, to ever mention my name in a live NFL game was Howard Cosell. I don't know if y'all remember that. I was with the Baltimore Colts that picked me up. This was right before the first strike. Frank Gifford was mentioning, calling the game, and Howard said, hey, where's that kid Buggs? Where happened? Oh, he's around. That was the last interview that Howard Cosell, I still have that on tape. So that part of it, Bernard, if I had to say, was a low point for me to give the university what I gave and then come back from that projection to where I was. Something had to happen. Something had to be said that wasn't true or was not represented properly. You get to Green Bay, you make the final 40, I think it was a 47-man roster then with all the talent receivers they had, and end up, it was a numbers game. I got released due to the defensive coordinator kept a linebacker that played for him as opposed to keeping me. So that's how I went to the Colts. Strike hit in 82. And in between that time frame, the USFL was formed, and I got a call. George Allen, I actually hung up on it, man. I'm like, who the hell is this man playing on the damn phone? I'm at my mom's house, and some George Allen. She said, who? I said, Mom, some guy said he was George Allen. He called back. And when I got to hear his voice, I'm like, damn, that is him. Coach, I'm sorry. Oh, don't worry about it. Because George Allen was like the mafia, man. He and Al Davis, man. You didn't mess around. But I was fortunate enough to be one of Trumaine Johnson. We were the only 2 rookies to ever start for a George Allen football team. He loved veterans. And that's how my career ended. I got hurt in the Silver Dome, twisted my knee. Whit Taylor was playing with the Michigan Panthers, and I twisted my knee on the carpet there. Well, it really wasn't the carpet. It was terrible. And, built my knee back up, went back to Memphis, signed with the Showboats. And at a point, I just got at a point when the league folded, I said, well, that's it for me. And I moved back here. And this is where I met my wife, and I've been here ever since.
Gosh, Wayman, so much to ask you there.
Yeah.
It would have been easy for you to have folded your career at the end of that NFL experience with a bitter taste. And
Yes.
I'm sure to a certain extent, it's probably been a bitter taste, but you didn't let it stop you because you played a couple of years professionally in the USFL.
Right.
Who was the first team that you played for?
It was the Chicago Blitz. Our franchise was in Chicago. Our owner, Dr. Dietrich, was a heart surgeon in Phoenix. And the second year, we moved the franchise to Phoenix, Arizona. Great city. I loved it out there. Chicago was cold, man. I played a game, and man, it was. We played against the Denver Gold, man. It was sleet, snow, rain. I said, man, don't throw me anything. I didn't want to catch anything, but it was a good experience being with Coach Allen. Like I said, Bernard, man, you weren't late. We had a meeting at 5 o'clock and you got there at 5, you were late.
Yeah.
He would fine you for that. But at the same time, as a player, you make a tackle inside the 20 on a kickoff, you may have a pair of boots at the next meeting. That's just kind of coach he was. And
wow.
We Trumaine Johnson was a Heisman candidate for Grambling. He was my roommate and a great receiver as well. And, he was the big money guy in the Jet magazine. I was the guy that went across the middle. I mean, I had to play that role. Yeah. And I like told coach, we played in a couple of games and I'm wide open and Trumaine is triple team and they still trying to throw the ball. But I had to understand, hey, he's the guy with the big contract. So I told coach, I said, Coach, he said, Wayman, I know you're upset. We're going to get you the ball. I never changed, Bernard. I even at that level, I'm like, Coach, come on, man. The man is being doubled. Nobody's going to stop me one-on-one. And again, I got a few, but no, he was still the man. And I had to accept that and just play my role. And unfortunately, I got hurt. And I made one more vast effort to come back. And then I just decided, it's just like a horse getting wounded. That's it for that horse. It's just how I felt, trying to stay in condition. And I just decided to use my degrees that I earned before I even went to Green Bay.
Well, Wayman, I want to let you know we got Mark Matlock has joined us. He says, my man, Memphis.
Big hog head on Mr. Chattanooga. What's up, Mayor?
And we've got Daryl Holt, who was later a teammate with me, is watching with us.
I remember Daryl Holt. Yeah. Tell him hello. Tell him hello.
Lineman.
Yeah.
Wayman, at some point, all athletes have to face the reality that we can't play our sport the rest of our lives.
Right.
Because of either injuries or coaching decisions. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy one for you, particularly that an injury led to you not being as active or as complete a player. How long did it take you to pivot from that, to deal with it? Did you deal with the depression? Did you just accept it and it was time to move on? Where were you in your mind space at that point?
I just stayed active, Bernard. I had a great surgeon. Matter of fact, I talked to my knee surgeon, Dr. Eli Crixton, a couple of years ago. He's still living in Phoenix. He did an outstanding job. I actually blew my knee out, medial lateral meniscus, and he tied me up. And I just went home and started playing softball and just being the athlete that I was in Memphis. And I played basketball when I worked at FedEx. We would travel and play tournaments. We'd actually win. So I still had game from that perspective on the basketball court. Of course, I wasn't going to mess with no baseball. I also played baseball in high school as well. But I just did the normal things in life. I had to move on. I had my degree. I started substituting in Memphis a little bit. Not sure if I was going to get into it full time. And I just enjoyed myself. Worked at FedEx. I worked for an insurance company, got more basic skills to learn how to, be basically sold yellow page advertising, traveled a little bit. So I stayed active and just realized, hey man, life has to move on. And that's how I did it. And I ended up moving back to Nashville in '89, working for, I think it was Third National Bank at the time. And ended up working for the state Just Say No program. And I've been working with kids ever since. And I eventually made the right decision to start teaching and coaching.
Well, and I certainly want to get to that in just a second, and the influence and impact you've had with our youth or the local youth for decades now. But Wayman, you talked about earlier when we first came on that you were playing golf today. So that
Yes.
competitive fire as an athlete, that never, to me, never is extinguished. The competitiveness that's part of our DNA, we just learn how to do other things that that maybe are not as harmful on our bodies. But do you still have that competitive fire, whether you're playing checkers or competing in a crossword puzzle, those kind of things? Is that still there in you?
It's still there, man. I birdied the first hole today at a tough course, and I didn't do anything. I might have made one other par. I hadn't played, had two foot surgeries last January, so I'm just kind of getting around. My timing and my balance is not there because I lost. I'm diabetic. I have to keep weight off me now, and I haven't, gone to the weight room, and I don't look like Dr. Noble. Dr. Noble's in great shape. He probably could still play. I don't do any of that stuff anymore, Bernard. I just don't, man. I don't want to run. If I had to run, I'm not. One of my friends said, "Hey, man, you need to do what you did 40 years ago." I'm like, "Man, you done lost your mind. I'm not going out here running no sprints."
If you're going to run, somebody's going to be chasing you. That's the only reason.
Yeah. So Bernard, yes, I stay competitive. But golf is an individual game. Very, very challenging. It's not like I can still pick up a basketball and score or, catch a football. My fingers are starting to hurt a little bit, but yeah, I still have it. And even with my students, we compete on certain things. I make sure I don't let them just go through life and make things a little competitive for them so they can think and I just do what my coaches did to me. George Allen taught me a good lesson. You work hard, I may reward you with something. It was nothing for him to send you a dinner coupon. He sent me once to a roast of y'all remember how pretty Jane Kennedy was when Coach Allen sent me as the representative to go to a roast with her. And I'm like, man, I'm in Chicago with the stars. But that was his way of saying thank you. And he picked me. I don't know why, but I didn't ask him. And I went and represented the team. So I've never forgotten that. I do the same thing with my students, give them good love. If I have to get into them, I will. But other than that, they eat what I eat. If I'm eating something good, they're going to eat with me. A couple of times my wife said, "Lost your mind." I brought some athletes home with me, but they didn't have any fathers. They didn't have any structure. And I made sure they ate before I took them home and get their homework. And that's just what I did. And that was on a middle school level. High school, a little different. When I was at Whites Creek here, I coached Jamie Graham, who went to Vandy, great athlete. And I enjoyed it. And Jamie is in Birmingham with Trent Dilfer now. He's on his staff. Great kid. And those are the things that make me do what I do. Now I'm working for School of the Blind. So I'm creating myself another challenge. Now I got to learn Braille. So I'm never not trying to learn something. And I'm only going to give them maybe 5 years and I'm going to move on. But these kids have taught me so much. And what I told you, what could have been a negative for me back in the day, Bernard, over a game, I just kind of put things in perspective as I get older.
What you have done is you have continued to be a leader, regardless of your station in life. And by doing so, Wayman, and I mean this in the utmost complimentary way, you have given back to society what you have received earlier in life. And even now, as you said, the students are giving to you, you're giving so much more to them that it's just your impact is admirable and it is just to be commended. So Wayman, I love what you're doing, and please keep being you, because I think it's beautiful.
I have no choice, man. I have a wife in there, happy wife, happy life, man. So she keeps me grounded. I have 2 beautiful girls, 2 grandsons. I got a grandson that's 6'5". He's in the 10th grade. He just transferred to Franklin High School. Sent me a tape the other day. He's dunking, and I'm like, wow. We need
to get him on Coach Stack's radar.
Hey, man, no, I don't think he's ready for that yet. I try to be honest with him and say, hey, I told his mom and his dad, I said, I'm gonna stay out of that. I'm not gonna be a football coach. I don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah.
He ended up staying away from that. So now he's running track and playing basketball. But he's now at Franklin High School, and hopefully they'll mold him and give him an opportunity. But like I told him last 2 weeks ago, hey, keep getting better, but your academics come first. I made sure he understood that basketball is just a game. Enjoy it while you can. If it can get you a scholarship, great. If not, you're smart enough to get an academic scholarship anyway. So I try to stay out of that when it comes to my grandkids. And even now, I talk to a coach. One of the coaches I coached with at White Creek when Jamie was there, he took a job at Stratford High School, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not coming back out there for that. No, I'm just, if I can help you in any way, fundraise or do something, but I'm not going back out there on Fridays, Bernard, anymore. I'd rather stay at home or go play golf and do some things for me. So I'm trying to do more to make sure I stay healthy and do some things for myself. And my girls are still there. You know, they may call me at any time, may need something. So I'm still daddy when it comes to that. But right now I'm having fun with my students at the School of the Blind. Like I said, we just got out of summer school 2 weeks ago, and one didn't come. And I just hope he's not so far behind. Like I say, man, it's just amazing. I can't complain for anything, man. These kids walk around with their situation and do the things they do. They laugh. They make me laugh. They swim. And I'm sitting around here complaining about something else. I'm like, man, it just makes things realistic. And I'm like, listen, man, you just be thankful that you're where you are. So that's just how I look at it every day.
Wayman, it's all about perspective, isn't it?
That's right. That's correct.
Dr.
But you tell all the guys on here, man, I really appreciate them chiming in. Some of them probably never, I've never shared what I'm sharing with you, Bernard. And like I said, I wasn't going to name any names back then, but it jolted me, but it made me a better person. It didn't stop me from reaching my goal. I went to a very tough situation as a free agent. I made the team. That's all my goal was. What happened after that, I had no control of it. But I remember Barstar's wife said, "Why did you let him go?" And I'm like, I just shook my head. But again, you got to remember, Alabama, that was a connection. You had a bunch of Alabama players on that team. And I probably was the only, besides Baby Ray, wasn't no Vandy guys up there. And it's just the way it was. I'm like, okay, I saw what this was really about. I was like, wow. And then I got to the Blitz, saw how that works. I said, well, that's just how life is. So when I said play the game, Bernard, when I was at Vandy, it prepared me to not lose it, because a lot of guys couldn't handle that, man. Some guys lost their lives. They got on drugs because they didn't make it in the NFL. I'm like, man, listen, it ain't that serious. I gave it all I could give it, and that's this led me to my beautiful wife by not playing anymore and moving back to Nashville, and that's a blessing in itself. And we've been married for 30 years. So hey, man, things happen for a reason, and again, I hope the guys, I hope I didn't embarrass anybody, but I was just telling it the way it is, just the way it happened, and it was unfortunate. So I look at some guys sideways. I look at the top 100, and I'm like, some of them names on there, I thought that was funny, man. It came out again on Facebook. They got a picture of Cutler, and I'm like, who put these names? Where'd they get this from? But I'm like, hey, you know what? I know what I did and the time that I did. So hey, it doesn't matter. I know where I fit in that number, but it's not about that anymore. I know I get on the field, so people can get caught up in. I know there's some names that shouldn't be on there. I know that for a fact. They don't even have the stats to be on there, but it is.
What I was going to say, Wayman, is those who know.
Yeah, I know. We know, and those on this phone call know, because we've talked about it. Some of the younger guys may not know, but and that's why we feel the way we feel. Rod Gurley, our heart is about making sure our guys are okay. Bernard, we're at the age, like I say, Matlock needs me. He knows where to find me. If he wants to call and curse me out, he'll call and do that and ask me, am I at work? What you doing? You ain't doing nothing. I said, I'm in here with my kids. I've let my kids speak to Mark. That's just what we do, man. Like I say, Simmons comes in town. I'm going to make sure I go to the game. If I don't do anything else but stay the first half, I'm going to hang out with them and, wish them safe travels back to Chattanooga and Alabama. So that's what it's all about. Even the older guys, Bernard Wilson, I talked to him. He's a part of the NFL Players Association that I'm the president of here at the Nashville chapter. Dennis, we broke bread at the steakhouse, Fleming's, 2 Sundays ago. So he's still a part of my life. And he's the reason why, and I told the guys that were there, he's the reason why I came to Vanderbilt. He helped close the deal. My mother fell in love with everybody. And I'm like, well, I think that's where I'm going to end up going to college. And it worked out for me.
Wamon, I got two comments. Dr.
Yes.
Noble says he's good for about 2 more plays. And he says to tell you you're a generational brother and he's proud to know you.
Tell him I have 0 plays left. 0. I wouldn't even run a fade route on the goal line, red zone. I couldn't. I probably could, Bernard, but no, man, I'm done, man.
I think you got a move or 2 in you. You'd get open.
But I know, man, I'm hurting look, I came home from golf and took my shirt off and I had to cool off for a minute. It was a little warm today, but I got some exercise and got my blood circulating and hit some good shots, hit some bad shots that I hadn't really played and practiced like I used to. I used to play golf almost every day. I had to kind of roll back off. Yeah.
It's also the hottest time of the year, but I know a quarterback who'd get that ball to you in the end zone. Joe Peebles said he's got his golf outing coming up on the 27th in Murfreesboro. He's got a spot available for you if you want to get in touch with him.
Tell him to let me know. And I don't, that's my daughter's birthday. I know I start school back. Tell him to send me the information. If I can make it, I'll come and play.
Very good. Well, Wamon, I could talk with you for hours. I have so much I want to go over, but I want to be respectful of your time.
Man, I'm out of school, man. You don't just be respectful of the other guy. I can talk. My wife, unless I have to go get some dinner for her. I've raised my kids. I'm on my summer break. I think I'm going to a golf outing in Pineville, Kentucky, Thursday, just to kind of get away from Nashville, go relax for myself a little bit. And I think I'm going to ride the bus with TSU when they go play Notre Dame. Yeah. One of my social organizations I'm a part of, I'm the secretary, and they're going to let me ride for free. And I know I'm going to miss the first Vandy home game, but that's a historic game for HBCU playing Notre Dame. So I think I'm going to enjoy myself, relax, and go up to Indiana and hang out with the TSU folks for a weekend.
Well, guys, tonight you heard this is exactly why I love doing these conversations. It's Commodores from all decades, players who never played at all, players who were all-stars. Anywhere in between, it doesn't matter to me. We are weaving the oral history of this program. And Wamon Buggs is as important a member as there is. Number 8, coming out of Hamilton High School at Memphis. He did what he did, and just a beautiful conversation. And Wamon, thank you for keeping it real and telling us your story. I sure appreciate that tonight. I really do.
That's what it's all about. Is Kenny Cole on here? I forgot to mention my other Alabama.
I don't see. He usually is on here, but he may have some work stuff this week that's keeping him busy.
Yeah. But we're a talented group, Bernard. I know we don't get to interact and use each other. But like I said, if I get into a situation, man, that I need to have a lawyer, I know who to call. If I need to get in a situation where somebody's done something to me I think that wasn't right, I can pick up the phone. I don't want to do that, but they're there. And that's a good feeling to know you got guys that you can call for anything that you may need. And I always share that with my daughters. And when you're dealing with people, always, your first impression is the lasting impression. You never know when you want to need someone. You never know. Any part of the country, Bernard, I can pick up the phone. I know somebody that I can call. And if I need to stay somewhere or whatever, I don't do that most of the time. But it's just good to have that kind of network. So I try to carry myself. And if a person comes through Nashville and they need something, that's what I do. I'm going to try to make sure I get them to the right person to get their needs met. And that's what this thing is all about.
Wamon, it's a good thing that Valley Head is pretty close to Chattanooga and Huntsville, because you could stay in either of those places and Ken would come see you.
He would have to, Bernard, because I'm not going to Valley Head. I will go to Chattanooga. I'll go to Huntsville. That's where Preston is, and get Embassy Suites. But Valley Head, I don't know. And Kenny knows. I know he's probably chuckling if he hears about this, but he knows, though. He knows. It's nothing in Valley Head for me. I told him that. I said, no, man, off season. Come on, man, go home with me. I said, Ken Hamlin, you done lost your mind. No, I'm going to Memphis.
Wait a minute. I do have to tell you, Kenny has agreed to come on the show in 2 weeks. So you have got to come back in 2 weeks for that talk. You know that's going to be entertaining.
I would love to chime in on the big fella about Valley Head, Alabama. That don't even sound right for me to try to go nowhere near there.
Guys, there's going to be stories galore like there was tonight. So, Wamon, I'm going to wrap it up by telling you it's been my pleasure. Thank you, my friend, for such a great conversation.
Hey, anytime, guys. Tell all the guys thanks for chiming in, and hopefully I'll run into them during the season.
Hope so, guys. Anchor down. Keep coming back Tuesday nights. Also, if any of y'all are interested in away tickets or home tickets, I put the information on who to contact Dallas in the ticket office. Also, we're starting to put together more and more information about the UNLV Vegas trip. So just keep coming back into the comments section in our weekly conversations. So you guys be well. We'll see you next Tuesday. Wamon, don't go anywhere just yet.
Okay. Thank you.